In 2014, I had the fortunate opportunity to spend 30 days with producer legend Michael Wagener, producing the new record of my band Wolf Spirit back then. That was almost 10 years ago, and I feel that the stuff that I learned back then during that production time still is relevant for me today. So in this video I just want to talk about how it came to be that we worked together with Michael Wagener, and what really stuck with me all of the years, what was really important, some philosophical stuff. Right away, it's not gonna be like how you place microphones in front of your amp or how you play guitar or get a perfect guitar sound or something like that. This video is more like, I guess, more like a philosophical kind of video. The first thing that really stuck with me all over these years, what I learned from Michael recording that album Free, which by the way is an awesome album. I think you should check it out. Anyway, the first thing that stuck with me is the first rule that I learned from Mike Wagener is there are no rules. What that means is that, you know, making music is an art form, obviously, and as all arts, it's totally subjective. And I can remember Michael talking about one thing specifically, that he kind of didn't like all these schooled audio engineers, you know, because they learned something like how to, I'm just gonna make up something, like how to mic a snare. And then it's gotta be that way, you know? It's gotta be microphone in this and that way. It's gotta have this signal chain. The compressors have to do this. The preamps have to be set like that because that's just the right way to do it. And that's something that Michael really kind of broke up in my brain, that kind of thinking. But Michael really made it clear for me that it's just about the sound you have in your head. And it's just about getting that out and doing whatever it takes. And if your preamp is distorting and blowing up, or if the microphone is set up in a kind of a weird way or something, you know, so be it. It doesn't matter as long it's the sound that you're going for. And then it even doesn't matter if somebody else doesn't like that sound, because you have to be, you know, it's your thing. If you like that sound, then go for it. And that approach really, that just stuck to me, and I'm keeping up that philosophy and doing my music, and actually I think even in overall in life, you know, just do your thing, be you. Oh yeah, here's another important thing that I learned from Michael, and I mean I knew that before, but Michael made it even more clear, is that keep things simple. Music productions don't have to be complicated. In fact, they shouldn't be. You know, back then in 2014, yes, we had YouTube and the internet, of course, and you had tutorials, but they weren't anywhere in detail as they are now. So as a band back then, you were a bit more in the fog of not knowing stuff. You kind of had to figure out stuff by reading in forums about gear and how you microphone stuff. And I'm gonna give you one example. Like, I was led to believe that to get a really fat hard rock or heavy metal guitar sound, you would have to not just play your guitar part, but play that exact guitar part again and again and again, you know, like doubling, but just not only like 2 times, but like 10 times or something. And then pan that left and right, like 5 guitars on the left, 5 guitars on the right, and exactly the same thing. And that just made, that's how I kind of tried to get a really big, massive guitar sound. And in fact, that was just leading to me, you know, being that kind of technical player who was stuck in that, oh man, I have to play the same thing, you know, I can't improvise. It wasn't serving the song. That's what I'm trying to say. It wasn't serving me it wasn't serving the music. It wasn't serving me. It was restricting myself, and it was making things complicated. So we entered Wire World, started producing with Michael, and I asked him, like, how many times do you want me to play the guitars? And he was just looked at me like, you just play your guitar part once and that's it. Like, and then he was referring to Van Halen. Like, that's exactly how Van Halen recorded the first album. And maybe you know that the guitar is panned to one side and then the reverb of that guitar is panned to the other side of the speaker. And, you know, simple method, but and make that sound really huge and massive, and just make that performance your best performance of your life, because that's what's going to be recorded and preserved forever. But it's a much more simpler way of thinking of production than you know, the way that I just told before with all those thousands of guitars. So yeah, basically I just, and you know, he said like, you can just play your guitar once, make a really good performance. And then if you want, you can play another guitar, and we can double that in the chorus, or make maybe like a third guitar somewhere. You know, and I'm not talking about the solos or anything, it's just the basic rhythm parts, of the basic song parts. And what that did to me, it liberated me as a musician, because I could finally just play my part and not think about having to double it. It made it simpler and it made it better, because it was more about the performance than it was about technical stuff. So don't make things too technical, don't make things too complicated. A good music production is just having good sounds, again, that you like, that are good for you. Another example, Michael at that time really loved using the Camper. Although he had like, I don't know, 200 different amps, you know, in his room. Now he said he had like 20,000 amps in a little box. And he could just dial them in really, really quickly. And you know, the Camper has great sounds. Like, why not use that? He made his own profiles with the sounds. And that was back in 2014 when the Camper was just coming up. It was not that as popular as it is right now, you know. Last thing, I guess I should mention, be organized. Like, if you walked in the wire world, everything had its place. Every guitar was hung at its place. You know, every cupboard had its stuff in there, was labeled. Everything was tidy and clean, and that just makes a great workflow. You're organized, you're prepared. You know, he was prepared good as well. It was his ways of he expected us as a band to be prepared when we came in the studio, but he was also prepared, you know, in his way. You know, he had his stuff all going. Like, we walked in the studio and basically we were ready to go, like, from the first moment. There was nothing he had to put a bunch of cables here and there or anything. You know, that's just being right on, you know, organized and having a good schedule. Really important. He also put a lot of value on aesthetics, you know. He wanted his studio to look good. He wanted it to feel good for the musicians, because I'm sure you know that, you know, you go into a rehearsing place of a band and it's like this dark, stinky place where maybe like a week ago somebody ordered a pizza and it's still lying there somewhere in a card box. Somebody spilled a beer like ages ago and there's fungi growing out of it. Like, are you gonna feel comfortable? Are you gonna feel inspired in a place like that? You know, no, you want a place that's beautiful, and that's why I have all these lights with these LEDs, because I actually learned that from Michael. And I know a lot of YouTubers do that, but that's not the reason why I'm doing this. I actually learned this from Michael. Like, he had these lava lamps. He already worked a lot with lights in the studios back then, because he just knew how important lighting and, you know, just a comfortable place is for your inspiration as a musician, and also for himself, I guess, you know, that he just feels comfortable in his place. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more stuff I could talk about. We learned a lot as a band from Michael. I guess another thing I should mention, before that we had never really worked with a real producer. Like, there were people that called themselves producers and that we worked with, but they were not professionals. and they did not have the skill set that a real producer had. So for us, it was the first time working with a real producer, and it showed us how fertile it can be for your creativity to work with somebody else that has a skill set like that. Because, you know, when you're, as a band, you're writing your songs, you're figuring out your sounds, you're so much in your own world that having someone come from the outside, you know, that's good, that has a skill set like Michael Wagener, that he can inspire you, he can give you some other perspectives on looking on your stuff. Like, of course you have to be open, you know, for his advice and his or her recommendations. But if you are, it can be incredibly fertile for your whole music production, for your songwriting, for finding your sounds and stuff. All, you know, just for the whole production of the music. Yeah, I guess there's a lot more stuff that I could talk about, but I'm just gonna leave it at that. Put some comments in the box below. Check out the album Free, Wolf Spirit. I'll put a link somewhere. And thanks for watching this video. See you next time.